Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live stream. What we're going to be doing is talking through some of the resources that are available to developers, especially those that are going to be attending the upcoming BSV Hackathon in Austin, Texas. So the hackathon is going to be April 5th and 6th, and there's going to be some really cool things that we're able to do with the BSV blockchain. I think there's a lot of potential that has existed for a long time on BSV, but we're finally in a place where we're making that into reality. So what I want to do is I want to walk through basically starting with the website and going from there to basically walk through what it is that people are able to do with the new stack, and kind of give some insight into some example projects, answer some of your questions, and put us all in a position where we understand this stuff a little bit better. And that way we're in a position where everybody can, they can come into the event with a little bit of knowledge about the things that we're able to use. So let me put up my screen. And the first thing I want to do is essentially just talk about the event itself and some of the resources that are available. So this is the BSV Hackathon website. And from here, people are able to, let me just go ahead and, right, there we go. People are going to be able to, sign up for the event. But if you go on the top, you can see, of course, our official rules. So we have $55,000 in prizes that are available, and you can see that there. But also at the top, you can see the resources for developers. So these are really where developers are going to want to check out if they want to understand how to build with the new BSV tech stack. So I'm pretty excited to jump into some of this stuff, and we'll be able to give some insight, because there's a lot that we've just been releasing over the past little while, and we want to make sure that everybody's in a position where they can they can contribute, and they can build things, and they can do so in a way that's going to that's going to have an impact. And also, I'm sure that some of you who are in university, or people that might be interested in just checking out blockchain for the first time, but maybe also showing off some of your skills, you'd also want to get some of the $55,000 in prizes. So to do that most effectively, the rules say that you have to use one of these major components in your project. And that's what I want to talk about today. So we've got a lot to get into here, but really where it all starts is with the example wallet. So this is going to be the new MetaNet desktop repository, and I'm going to click on this link here, and maybe it also shows my. Does it show here? Let me go ahead and get to the other tab on. Whoops. I want to present a. Let's go on GitHub. Right. So, yeah, this is the MetaNet desktop repository. And essentially, it's where you can go to sort of get started with building on BSV. This is a wallet, and so a BSV wallet enables a lot of different things. You can see a few of them listed here, but we need to pull this down, and we need to actually get it running on our machine so that we can start to build things. So what you're going to want to do for this hackathon, and really for your BSV development in general, is going to be you're going to want to run this wallet. Let me let me go ahead and put up another window here. And uh, I'm doing some type of, here we go, right. So now we have that, and you can see my terminal. So yeah, I want to go ahead and essentially show how to get started here. You want to clone that repo. So you want to clone the MetaNet desktop repository. You want to git pull, make sure you have the latest version, and then you want to spin it up for development. So to do that, according to the README, you just say npm run tari dev. And of course, you're going to want to install your dependencies first. I actually have it already installed, so I can just do this. But yeah, we can see this here, and essentially, when you see this in your terminal, then you'll know that it's working properly. And I wonder if I can share more than one thing at a time here. I don't think I can. So I might just share my entire screen. Although maybe when we get into some code, it'll be a little bit better to right. Let's just go ahead and put that up. Okay, so we see this this here, but let's go to the GitHub, right? So we can see the GitHub, we can see the terminal, and we can also see the example desktop wallet. So when it pops up, it'll have you, log in and get set up. But you'll be able to pull this down and run it, and you can see some example applications here. But what we want to do is actually use this wallet in some way that's it's going to be relatively productive for the event. So we have essentially a couple of different example projects here to pick from, but Meter, the Meter application is one of them that I think is most it's got a lot of the different components here working together in a way that that hopefully makes some good sense, and I'll be able to step through that here with everybody. So the Meter app, and let me go ahead and just open up my version of the Meter app here in Visual Studio Code. Just gonna do that, and then I'd like to be able to share multiple windows and be able to have people switch between them without showing my entire screen, but I'm not sure if that works. If I have the Meter app, essentially I can just npmi when I clone it. So I have the example desktop wallet running, and that's important. It has to be running in the background. But then I can go npm run lars start. And I can continue to allow that to run. And essentially the front end will open, and we can see this on the screen currently. So here we are, and so let's go ahead and walk through what's happening here. We have a project, and this project is deployed with Lars and Cars. And yeah, so essentially we have a front end and a back end. And so in order to understand how BSV applications are architected, we have a deployment info JSON file, which actually pulls everything together. And then we have a front end and a back end. And the back end has topic managers and lookup services, and those are part of an overlay service. And all of those concepts we're going to get into more detail. But essentially, every app needs a place where people can look at what it says on the screen. Let me go ahead and try to make some of this text a little bit larger so people can see what I'm looking at here. And I'll go ahead and do this. So we've got a front end here, and that's just written in React, and we describe exactly where it's located. And that's really some of the code that lets people see what's going on the screen. So for example, I'm running the front end up here, and people can see a couple of meters here. So the Meter application is essentially an script contract demo, but it's very basic. The Then there's the overlay service, which has a topic manager and a lookup service for the backend. But let's just try to dive into some of this, because I know there's a lot here, and we need to start to explain some of it so that everybody can understand what's going on. An application consists of a front end and a back end. The front end can be written in a language like React. That's what we've done here. And when the page loads, we can pull some data from a lookup service, which is basically how you can read data from your view of the blockchain. And when people do stuff, then we can write data to the blockchain. So in this application, there are meters, which are counters that can go up and down. And when the page loads, we have this use async effect. Essentially, what we're doing is we are looking up the meters that are available. And then if they are not in the right format, we throw some errors. Otherwise, we go and actually loop through them and parse them out. So a smart contract exists that actually describes the rules of what a meter is, and this is written in script. Essentially, it can be constructed with a person who created the meter and a count, as well as a person who created it has to sign it. And then you can increment the meter and you can decrement the meter. And the code for that is here. Essentially, we're confirming that the meter can only go up or down by a certain number. And then we're making some assertions about how that happens, and that uses script. That meter contract is then compiled and can be used within the front end as well as the back end. So if I go and I visit the front end, I can see this actually happening. So when we pull in data, so I was looking at this use async effect here. When we pull in data, we're going to verify the signature over the data to confirm meter is actually legitimate. Then we're going to construct a new instance of the meter contract, and we're going to parse it out and add it to our state variable. So we just update that here at the end. And that's how come when I reload this page, I can see data that was created by others potentially, and is now available on the BSV blockchain. The meter application is one example, and essentially what I can do is I can increment and decrement a meter. So this is asking me to approve an action with my wallet, which is why I had to pull that down. And now I can see that the meter changes. What's happened here is that I've submitted a new transaction to an overlay, and I can see that the coins that were admitted are here. Essentially, that means that the outputs are now admissible into the overlay topic. So when I refresh the page, it's going to use the lookup service again, and it's going to show the value from there. And when I look at the lookup call, I can see that it's actually returning the outputs, but I can see that I was querying based on the meter lookup service. So we can query lookup services, and we can create outputs with topic that are registered and submitted. When a user creates a new meter, then they actually use the meter smart contract to create an output script, and that script is then put into a transaction. So here we can see that we're creating a transaction using the wallet, and it has an output, and then we're going to take that transaction and essentially broadcast it onto the meter overlay network. So here's the broadcaster. Let me broadcast it. Broadcasting a transaction sends the transaction to the overlay topic manager, which then is responsible for knowing which outputs in that transaction are valid and can be admitted. If I go ahead and look at the topic manager code, we can see how that works. So we're importing the meter contract from the other directory there. And then when a transaction is submitted, and you can read the docs here on this, but essentially when a transaction is submitted, we go through all of its outputs. And the key line here is we're decoding the output script, and we're trying to get it to unlock. So essentially by doing this, we're trying to validate that this is correct, and then we're going to insert it. So we push the output onto the list of admissible outputs, and we return it. Down here, actually, right? We return this. So that's how that works. When that happens, then the lookup service is notified. Lookup services respond to topical admittance events. So here's a lookup service. It's got an output admitted. And essentially what this allows us to do is to store this data in a way that is relevant. Here we're storing not only the TXID and output index, but also the value of the meter and the creator's identity key. That gets stored into a database, and then when we call that find all in the lookup side, what's happening is we're going to be able to return the list of items that are responsive to the query. And then we'll parse them back on the client side as we already showed and actually display them. So the Meter app incorporates an scrypt smart contract, a topic manager, a lookup service, and a front end that runs with Lars using deploymentinfo.json, and it facilitates a way to have some data in a contract, in a Meter smart contract in this context, to then be able to interact with that data to consume a previous output, create a new one that replaces the old one, increment or decrement the counter, and then to facilitate that update on the overlay. So by integrating these components together, we can arrive at an application that somebody can use, and they can deploy it as well. By allowing people to use topic managers, lookup services, and a front end together, we have a cohesive stack for developers. We can look at how this works in more detail with respect to the process of creating these and whatnot, and how they're updated. But what I want to do first is try to see about anything that might be going on here. Yeah, I think essentially the idea is to try to get some information out about this hackathon ahead of the event itself, so that we can understand how things are working and how developers are going to want to build things. Let me go back to the website and try to let's see. We want to run through some of this other stuff as well in terms of resources. So this is documented via let's see, it's got to be overlay networks. Yeah, this link here on the bottom is a Google Doc that describes essentially where did my right. So I just want to put the Google Docs link up here. Essentially, the Google Docs link is on the bottom of the resources of the website, and it describes in more detail how this works. So it talks about how to get started with overlay services. It talks about setting up an overlay service project with again, that deployment info structure that we talked about. And you can use this in conjunction with your tooling to create something. So Overlay Express, Lars, and Cars. It's a code example of Overlay Express, but you probably don't need that because you're going to look at how to do it with Lars directly, which is what I did when we were running that up. So you can read this in detail, but essentially, we're using the meter application as an example here as well. You can read about it, um, and it gives you some good guidance on how to use overlays within the context of a hackathon project as well. I'd recommend checking that out and checking out relevant BRCs and tools so that you have a good familiarity of how this works. What we want to do is try to create as much content around information for this as possible so that people understand how to build and can do so effectively. So here's some example code, and there's some links to sources as well. So yeah, I think the main thing here is all right, somebody has posted in the chat and said, can we show how baskets work? Sure. Yeah. So within the context of a wallet, right, we talked about, and I don't know how well this is going to work, but I think the best thing for me to do is to actually present my entire screen versus any window or something. So let me try to put this up. Right, and there we go. Right, so within a wallet, right, we're looking at running the MetaNet desktop wallet here. Users have outputs, and those outputs are under their control. And when people use outputs to create things like tokens or things of value, then that's something they can store in a basket. So Bitcoin has transactions. Transactions have outputs. Outputs can be in baskets. And baskets are a way to do local state management. So an overlay is actually a more complicated example. A more simple example would be to actually look at the to-do list application. And that uses baskets. So what I can do is kind of pull up the code and review how that works. So wallets manage baskets for users, and you can talk to a wallet with a wallet client, which is how we're making transactions. I've just pulled this code down, and here we can see we're importing the wallet client from the BSV SDK as part of the to-do list application. And so this is a simple app. It's a single page app in React. And here we're looking at declaring some state variables for our tasks, among other things. Here we're checking whether the user has a MetaNet client installed. And if they don't, we'll let them know to do it. And here is where a user wants to create a task with a to-do list. What happens here is we go ahead and create we're going to encrypt their task for privacy, number one. So there's encryption functions in the wallet. And we just go ahead and create a new wallet client here. I think we should refactor this a little bit. Maybe that's something we can do. How about we run through this and try to refactor it a little bit. That way I can walk through it as well. We create a new push drop template with a token. We make a transaction that has the output here. And you can see that the output is put into a basket. In this case, the to-do tokens basket. So that way, when people use that basket to list outputs in the future, you can get that output back. So you're basically telling the wallet, I want to keep this output in this basket. On the this is when you complete a task. So you're actually spending a token out of a basket. We're going to go and redeem that token. And there's some code here that needs to be cleaned up. It's been refactored to use the new system. But when you want to load the page for the first time, obviously you want to list the outputs that are in a basket. And that's what this code here is doing. It's actually asking the wallet what outputs are in this basket, and then it's going to go and populate, like we saw with the meter. it's going to go and populate the state variable with the updated value, and you can see that it's going to come down here and right. So yep, there's the updater for the state variable. So yeah, then we render a user interface, and that's essentially the to-do list. I can pull this down and attempt to run it up here. And that's another one of the examples we should have for the people to check out. Leveraging baskets, leveraging overlays. So generally, you're going to want to leverage baskets for local stuff and overlays for global stuff, right? Things that belong to the user should be in a basket. Things that belong to the overlay should be global, right? So across users or something like that. Contracts and things where people interact. Do I have this? So let me just pull this down. And go ahead and spin it up. So, right. Here we are looking at this code. And I should just be able to spin this code up in the browser just as we did with the other one. So here we are looking at a to-do list, and it appears that I should, right, I just clicked on this and it came up, so. Oh, yeah, that's correct. Okay, so we'll go ahead and grant this. It's asking for permission to access the things in my basket. Then it hits a debugger, which again, we need to clean this code up. But now it's saying, oh, it failed to get the to-do list because a tagged beef must start with that. Somebody messed up here. Yeah, we definitely need to improve this code. I don't know who wrote it, but they need to fix it. We should be able to hopefully create a task though. And nope. All right. Well, this is completely broken. So the concept of baskets can be demonstrated through through creating transactions with the wallet and then tagging the outputs in a basket. And then after that, you can list the outputs in a particular basket so that people can actually go about retrieving those tokens. They can then be spent, and when you spend them, then they're no longer in the basket because the transaction that consumes them essentially removes them. You can then, you can use basketed outputs, as your inputs to your transaction. Whoops. But it's not going to be. It's not going to be. You'll need to replace them. You're going to need to create another output that replaces the old one if you want to do an update in a basket. The same applies to overlays, really, with topical admittance and tracking. Another thing that I wanted to cover in concept here is cool cert. So unrelated to baskets, but on the identity side, people need a way to know who each other are within applications. There are tools for this, identity resolution and certificates among them. And yeah, so this is an example of a certificate authority that issues what we're calling cool people certificates, just as an example, right? So you can go to this website and get issued a certificate. If I pull up my MetaNet client, I can see under my identity page what certificates I have, and I've been issued one of these. So certificates essentially attest to something about somebody, right? It's an identity attribute that is associated with that individual. One application of this is if you want to be able to get micropayment-based weather from Mars, then there's MarsCast. So what MarsCast does is it checks if you have a certificate, and then if so, it lets you do an action. It lets you interact with some service, in this case, a micropayment-based web API. So I think there's a user interface for this somewhere. But essentially, yeah, that's the idea. Uh, by integrating identity certificates with uh, with micropayment monetized APIs, you can confirm attributes of people based on based on certain things. So how this works, if I dig into some of the code here, is essentially that we are setting up an Express server, and the Express server is going to use the auth middleware and stuff. So we're setting up some interfaces here, and looks like we're having some helpers here, and then we're initializing. So creating a new wallet for this server to kind of be able to receive money when it monetizes its API with micropayments. Then we're creating the authentication middleware, and we're setting it up in a way that allows us to request particular certificates. So we're requesting when somebody authenticates through the auth middleware that they provide a cool person certificate. And when the certificates are received, we actually just let everybody know, in a global variable, I think that, so that they can be handled. And in another application, you could use like a database to track who has sent you certificates and then only perform certain actions once those certificates have been received. Then we can go ahead and actually look at our endpoint. So we monetize with payment middleware, right? In this case, we're saying it costs 1 Satoshi to request the below endpoints. And then here's the endpoint. So we're setting up Express middleware with this endpoint for monetizing it after we set up the auth middleware. And then we're making sure, does this person have that certificate? And if they do, then they're good. Otherwise, um, bad request. So that's how Marscast works. And I don't remember the URL where this is deployed. Marscast. Is this the URL? Right. So this is deployed. You can check it out. And essentially, once you get a cool cert certificate, which you can do from coolcert.babbage.systems, what you do is you can go here, and this user interface will issue you a cool cert certificate as a demo of you could get a certificate for your identity or your email address or your social media handle or something. But then once you have that, let's go ahead and request some data. Looks like it's loading. It looks like I have a permission pop-up here in my Metanet client. It's asking for my certificate list. Then it's asking to know whether I am cool. So it's asking for access to my cool cert certificate. I'll go ahead and grant that. And it looks like something went wrong. Let me go ahead and try to debug this here. But yeah, let's go ahead and try to grant that. And yeah, we're not, this is also broken. So we'll want to figure out why this demo is broken. This is open source software. I would encourage people to try to help fix it so that it works. Because I think these concepts are really cool. And I'm kind of the concepts guy on our team, trying to make sure that everything is aligned properly there. But when the technology, we need to work on making sure that it's working properly. So identity, baskets, overlays, other things like that. Let me pull up the list here. Maybe we can go through some messages in the let's see. Just arrived, it says. All right. Oops, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Right, marscast.babbage.systems, that link, but it doesn't work, Braden, so we have to fix it. Everything doesn't work, everything has to be fixed. This is open source software. This is a call to the community to try to help fix all of this stuff. We need to create examples that are compelling for our technology so that it can work. This is all public now. We're going to build in the open, and it's going to be pretty rough, it looks like. Going by how it's gone so far, we're going to need to make sure that everything works properly, and it needs to be stable. And that's largely what has to happen. I don't know what else has to happen, but people maybe should fork some of these examples for the hackathon, and then maybe modify them, get them to work, get them to integrate properly, work with us to resolve any issues. Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, I think the blockchain enables a lot of capabilities around micropayments, around identity, around overlays, and giving people a wallet that ties all that together for them and allows them to to get it to work, to have all of these things in one place, right? People can hold their assets, they can hold their BSV for micropayments, they can hold their certificates, so that people can confirm each other's identities and things like that. All of that is pulled together by the BSV wallet, which is open source, the MetaNet desktop. I think the wallet itself is pretty solid. I didn't see any issues there. I think there's just some code cleanup that needs to happen on the to-do list, which demonstrates the concept of baskets and tokenized assets, where you can tokenize, for example, a to-do list item with some Satoshis and then redeem those Satoshis to get them back once you complete that reward. That concept just has to, work. And on the overlay side, we have a lot of things that are, that are possible. We demoed the meter one. That one did work. So that's the one I tested a couple days ago, and got that working. So you can actually pull down the meter code, and you can build an overlay that incorporates an Scrypt smart contract, and you can have that as part of your application. So the ability to have an overlay network that tracks a smart contract, and the ability to let other people plug into that and interact with the same contract that you're interacting with in real time, or with a lookup service, that's pretty powerful. I think you can do a lot with that, right? The smart contract we use is literally the simplest example from the Scrypt boilerplate, which is incrementometer and decrementometer. We demonstrated its integration with a lot of components, including the wallet, being able to sign those transactions, the overlay system for tracking those outputs, those tokens, and Lars, the infrastructure for running locally, as well as the cloud automated runtime system, which I haven't talked about, but essentially that allows you to deploy to the cloud. And so there's a lot of other examples as well that I linked on the site. We have storage related stuff for doing chain backed multimedia storage. I think we got that one working last week. Yeah, I mean, the push drop scripts template is another basic example of essentially putting data into a BSV blockchain token. So I'd be excited to see more people checking more of these things out. Right. And definitely check out the website, where you can find more details about this event, including the venue, which is going to be Texas Stock Company, Austin, Texas, April 5th and 6th. We're going to be bringing people together to talk about these tools and see how they might be useful, try to incorporate them into our work and get things across the line. I think everybody wants to use these tools, and now that they're foundational and available in an open source capacity, everybody can start to work on the same team to improve them. And that's what I'm looking for. I think if we do that, we'll be successful. And yeah, I mean, we need more people to engage, and that's the purpose of this event. So um, yeah, that's the idea. I don't have much else to say. I was going to run through some of the other demos. Kind of not sure if any of them are going to work. I hope they will. I hope that we can improve things over time. It's in the hands of the entire community at this point to try to help. I'm going to be fully transparent about that. We're going to try to make sure that the components themselves are solid and get as much done as quickly as we can. We're going to release as much information as we possibly can. There's a thread on X that I talked recently a lot about a lot of this stuff. And I think there's going to be a lot more as time goes on. But yeah, people have some work to do. And I'm talking as much to my own team as I am to everybody else. Because yeah, we need to continue to produce high quality components. Auth middleware and payment middleware are really cool building blocks. I think people are going to be able to use these within backend services on things like Express to monetize their APIs and to identify individuals, whether just by their keys or by identity certificates to support the types of interactions that they want to make, and that's integrated into the TypeScript SDK as well. So I mean, the simplest use case, right? The simplest use case of this technology is something like that, with just, without even thinking about most of the identity stuff or the overlay stuff or the micropayment stuff or the um, monetization side with digital assets. Like, you can build services where you don't have passwords. That's pretty cool by itself. And that's a very simple thing to do. I think I could even pull down some of the tools and build something that demos that very, very quickly. I mean, it's just simply the use of the auth middleware with auth fetch. So I'm not sure what's happening with the Mars cast thing. I was hoping that would work. I was hoping that to-do list would work, but we're here to write code and to make things work and to fix things. So I think the best way to do that is probably to pull down some repos and fix some things live on air, because if I'm gonna be part of this as well, I mean, obviously we need to make things work properly. I've just put my screen, and I'll try to put it up and then go to VS Code. And I think what I'm going to do is try to clone the to-do list and try to get that working. If we get the to-do list working, guys, that would be really good. Because we really, like, honestly, yeah, it's pretty appalling to me that the to-do list isn't working at all. And I think I can fix it pretty quickly. So actually, if I'm in VS Code, I don't want to pan around everywhere and show everybody all this stuff. So I'm going to try to do something else. I want to share my window instead. I think I can manage that. And that way everybody can read what I'm doing. So here we are in VS Code. I think that is going to be, yeah, there we go. Okay. So now VS Code is up on the screen, and I can, I'm in the to-do list application, and I'm just going to read through this code and fix it. Feel free to, stick around for that if you'd like. Just feeling like that's the best use of my time right now, because, yeah, honestly, it's pretty unacceptable to me that it's not working. And when I'm here to try to demo these things, honestly, like, let's just fix it. I don't know what's going on to make it not work, but looks like we've got some styling stuff here. That's cool. When we load a list of to-do, okay, we tried to create we tried to create a to-do list item, and it just failed. So handle create submit prevent default. Right, that wasn't the issue. So we're checking to make sure that you have at least one Satoshi in your transaction. We're loading, we saw that. All right, here's the first problem. Here's what I'm going to fix. Firstly, every time you do this, this is not, right? We need to, and to be clear, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to criticize anybody in particular about, who may or may not have written any parts of the code that I'm going to go through. But I'm just going to, my goal here is to make the code the best. I think we can all agree that that's a thing we should try to do. So I'm just going to try to make the code the best, right? So firstly, we don't need to create a wallet client every single time. That is silly. We can just make one client, and now we have one client, and I don't know if that's going to fix any errors, but essentially I've just replaced every instance of that line of code that said new wallet client non-admin.com with just the reference to that one wallet client. Right. So we're saying new push drop wallet client. Here we're encrypting, and we can actually pull this out. I mean, you can do this way either way, I guess, but that's not the problem though. Let's try to figure out what the problem is. So maybe that was the problem. We're calling push drop lock, creating a to-do protocol token here. Lots of comments here. I don't know how updated these comments are, but I'm just trying to look at the code right now to try to get it to work. Wallet client.create action with outputs, locking script, Satoshis, basket, and output description. And then there's a description. Yeah, that's correct. Right, and then we toast.dark. So that should have worked. Just save this. Looks like there's an error in line 371. So wallet client is wallet client. Yeah, well, that's not necessary anymore. I think that's all. All right. So I'd like to be able to switch to another window and see this, but I think okay. I've just made some changes, and I'm going to try to rerun the local dev environment. Oh, it's 8090. Okay, here we go. All right. So I just tried to load it up, and I know people can't see anything but my code editor. And I also don't know if I can put multiple windows up at the same time. I don't think I can. Because when I go to present, if I go to share screen, it's going to, yeah, it's going to take my editor down. Yep. Interesting. So it didn't even, okay. All right, we'll have to submit a pull request to Google Chrome, guys. Add the ability to share multiple windows at the same time without sharing your whole screen, so that StreamYard can work properly. Okay, let's try to do this, and And then we'll go to we'll go here. When the page loads, immediately we hit a debugger. I'm going to find that and remove it. So we're going to be in the handle complete submit. Why is that being invoked? Why did we even hit a debugger? That shouldn't be invoked at all. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's too many comments in this code, and eventually I'm just going to delete all of them because I'm not going to try to read all of them. But somebody's invoking handle complete submit somewhere. And we can't have that. Void async. Okay. This is what actually should run. We're listing outputs, debugger. We are computing these so tasks from basket, and we're using the beef class to convert that from beef, but that probably won't work. So what we should do is I don't know why we're declaring txid outside that variable when it's specific to this. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, we're using beef.find. I think what we can do here is just tx equals from beef. And this is going to be tasks from basket dot beef. And that's undefined, possibly. Yeah. So, and then we pass the txid as an optional second parameter. In this case, task.tx. Oh, wait. So out point. And we're getting the txid out of the out point. And then we pull the locking script out from there, and we actually parse and then return. There's a bunch of commented code here. But are we decrypting it? Yeah. Wallet client.decrypt. Okay, that should work. And then, yeah, let's continue. All right. I think this has a higher chance of working now. I don't know why I'm in a debugger. Oh, it's because I was there from before. Right. Okay. Now we're actually successfully loading an empty list of tasks, I think. Whereas before, I don't know if that we were. Okay, so create a task. Let's try to get baskets to work. All right, and the error is call create action. Am I just out of money? That would be funny. I might just be out of money. Oh, wait. Yeah, I simply don't have enough money. Well, then I need to fund my key. I think I can do that without revealing any sensitive information because we have WUI now. So let's go to the key here. And I can go to export to the locally running wallet. So this is how you use WUI to export funds to a wallet, by the way, if you have a key. And I want 10,000 Satoshis. All right, that looks like it worked. So that would definitely do it. Maybe that's why MarsCast wasn't working. Wow. Well, I only want 10 sats. Approve. And there we are. And then if I reload this page, it should parse successfully. Right. Okay. So now I feel a lot better about that. I think it might have been a combination of two bugs. First bug was, well, combination of two things, right? One of them was just I didn't have enough money. And the way that our wallet currently handles, and this is something that we should make note of for the future, the way that the MetaNet client wallet currently handles not having enough money could be improved. And that is open to proposals from the community about how we should improve the way that the wallet client, also the UI, like, I mean, we have a UI and we're working on it, but if you want to help build the UI, like, we can do a lot better, like I like this, I like this page the most, but because it shows you like who you trust and all your identity stuff. But I think we can probably, um, let's see if this works. I bet it might work now. That'd be funny. Yeah, it's gonna work now. Come on. All right, it's requesting to see if I'm cool. Ah, no, still doesn't work. I thought it was because I was out of money that MarsCast wouldn't work, but it's still it's saying failed to send message to peer. Right. Transaction parameter must be valid atomic beef. So invalid parameter. But this works now. All right. Well, yeah. So that's how we can. So one of the bugs was, or one of the issues was, I was just out of money. The second issue, though, I think is right. Okay. Number one. I don't know what this code is, but it's obviously not doing anything useful if it's just in here. When you're listing when there's no results, I'm going to try to redeem this and see if the redeem works. All right, it's still there. Oh, okay. Redeem. And now it's gone. Okay, so that successfully redeemed the token. And if I refresh now, it should be gone. Great. So the redeem still works. But when I have no beef, right, what was happening before was trying to list an output. And it wasn't working. Yeah, we were assigning a beef class up here, but the output list, the issue was, right, we have this tasks from basket, and we were assuming that beef was going to be defined on that, right? and we were pulling the beef class out and constructing it before we're going into this loop. The thing is that this loop will only execute when there are multiple outputs in the list, and beef is only provided when there are outputs, obviously. So like, for example, right now, if I go and look at the network tab, and why we're getting network all the time, even after we know that we're on the right network, I don't get it. But we called list outputs right here. List. Okay, I can't follow this because it's, there we go. Right, and the response, oh, it's in RPC. What? All right, well, is it just RPC? Okay, well, we can read this. We can see that beef, right, B-E-E-F, and it's just going to return an empty, like this is not a real beef, right? 2, 0, 190, 239, 0, 0. I mean, it's you know, that's what's breaking. So it's the wallet's returning that beef incorrectly. I think it should return nothing if there's no outputs. But yeah, we fixed the I think I made this code a little bit better by removing that bug and by trying to you know, make the wallet client only initialize once. Maybe I can also fix that get network thing, because that's kind of annoying, right? Here we're saying interval ID is set interval, right? Check for MetaNet client, then has MNC, and if open modal if MetaNet client not found. Otherwise, if the MetaNet client is found, then we should clear the interval so that we don't make a request every single time. You know, so I think we can clear the interval, and then now it shouldn't be doing that. Like that was, I just couldn't follow the network tab. It was like, goodness gracious. Is it going to stop? Yeah. Yeah, see, now it's not going to. So yeah, little things like this, guys. This is the kind of little tiny changes that we need to be making all the time. And this is the stuff that we need help with. This is the stuff that, you know, my team can't do all on our own for all these demos and for all these use cases and example applications. We need people to help build the set of example applications that are going to work, and you know, just fix a few bugs here and there, right? So that's what we need. Fix a few bugs. Can I? Oh wait, I have to. Oh goodness, it's trying to. I was trying to hide the little. There we go. It was going in my way. Right. Okay. So yeah, we have to. You know, we have to keep all the use cases and all the examples on the. Here's an example of something that nobody's touched yet, but you know, it could be a really great thing to resurrect for the hackathon. In fact, if you know, do this for the hackathon, like, might be in a good place. Tempo app. This app is using the old stack, and it needs to use the new stack. And we have to update the MetaNet client version, and you have to not use the Babbage SDK. You have to use the, you know, BSV wallet client instead, and use the new tools. But yeah, things like that, I think, will go a long way towards making things what they need to be, so that our use cases will work properly. Now, I wonder if I pushed that code, did it go live on the internet? And if so, where? I just pushed this commit to this repository, but did it go live? No? How does that go live? How do we make todo.babbage be updated? Oh, that's the old. This is my old MetaNet client, by the way. Old world, and it's also not even the React one. Wow. All right. I think we should pull that offline, and I think we should put it on the new one. So maybe I can use a little bit of time to talk about cars. Let me see how the stream is doing and all of this stuff, so that I can. Whoops. I'll just pull this offline for now. There we go. All right. Why don't we see if there's any questions or things where. Yeah, feel free to put up any questions, Mike, that are good. I can start to read through them, but if you want to click on them and put them up on the little. All right, here we go. Okay, so Freddie asks, CoolCert UI Babbage systems showing insecure HTTPS. Yeah. So CoolCert UI is the old version of the UI, and the new version is on CoolCert.babbage.systems, I believe. And Braden can confirm, or somebody can confirm. But yeah, CoolCert.babbage.systems is the latest. And so what we need to do is redirect the old one to the new one. And that's a lot of this too. Okay. For these apps, will users have to have MetaNet desktop running locally? Yes. So the intention is we're going to build a browser extension eventually using the same code base or a lot of the same code. And we've got some good people who've talked about, browser extension stuff. And I think we can put something together that'll be good for everybody. But MetaNet desktop should be running locally for users of the apps during the, and we're working on making it available for download. If you're a dev at the hackathon, I think we're just going to tell you to clone it like I did and then run it. For users, like in the future, we want to make it available. Obviously, you can download it and run it like as how you would any other program on your computer. But yeah, that's going to be pretty good. Should I have my own web instance running? So wallet authentication backend is a way to bind a key to one of your auth factors. So in the wallet, you have 3 auth factors. You have your phone number, you have your password, and you have your recovery key. And you need 2 of them to get access to your identity. So web is responsible for 1. You don't need to run one. The currently Babbage runs a wallet authentication backend server at wab.babbage.systems. You can run one, and that's why it's open source. We want more people to run them so that people don't just trust us for one of their auth factors. We want people to run their own or have somebody they trust run one, versus there just being one server that does that. It's quite possible, by the way, to recover your account even without access to a web. Just so people are aware, like if the wallet authentication backend goes away, it's still easy to get back into your, you just have to have your recovery key and your password. You can get back into your account without access to that presentation key from the web. But not required, definitely not required for the hackathon or for building apps or using apps. But if you want to be a wallet infrastructure provider, or if you want to just run your own because you want to be more in control of your own keys and security, then certainly that's kind of the use case for running a web yourself. Other questions, or is that largely the questions? All right, let's see. Can you go over identity and the client on BSV TS SDK? Yes. So identity is essentially things about people that are bound to their keys. And what I can do here is, and Mike, when I tab over, actually, I'll bring this up and then here we go. I want to go to the identity client because what you're talking about here is, all right, so let's go to the source code, src identity, have I missed it? There it is. And identity client is here. Essentially, it's a class. And so you have an identity client in the TypeScript SDK that you can use to do a number of things. Let's set some foundations here because this is a really big concept, but I think it's really important. There are users who have keys. There are users who have, things about themselves like names, emails, phone numbers, social media handles, faces, skills like being, cool. Wait, is that a skill? Skills like being a certified medical assistant or something, right? And all of these things about people are like attributes that can be attested by some certifier. So a certifier is a person who says, I think this person has this skill or attribute or thing, and here's the public key, and here's my signature signing off that I think this is true. That's basically identity. Because if you model that properly, then you can say, I want to find people who have a particular attribute, like their name or their face or what skill they have or where they, what zip code they are or something like that, Or if I have somebody's key because they're talking to me, they sent me a message or something, I can look up to try to support who that person is and kind of resolve that identity back to a person or a recognizable entity with which I can interact. That's the concepts. So here is a class in the TypeScript SDK that has a constructor that takes a wallet and some options, things like that. But mainly it just takes a wallet, which is like the person who's using this class to do stuff. What is that person? One thing you can do is if you got a certificate from somebody that attests to something about you, you can publicly reveal it. You can tell the world and make it searchable and resolvable by the world. This is something about me that when you look up my key, you can find out this information. And that way people can, confirm things publicly. Now, other use cases would include, confirming something privately. So if you want to just directly communicate to somebody privately, you wouldn't use this, right? This is for announcing and making resolvable globally things about yourself. But that's what this function is for. So, if you want to advertise your services in a particular area, you could have a certificate that says, A, I'm a doctor, and B, I have this zip code. And then when people search for doctor and zip code, then they'll find you and you could, communicate with them. You could interact with them in some way, right? Whatever the case is. So by publicly revealing attributes, you allow them to be found by the world. And the finding process is kind of what happens next. So here we have resolve by identity key. So identity resolution is once again that concept that given an identity key, you can resolve it back to some attributes of that person. So what we're going to do here, it's a very simple function because it's just using two things. Firstly, it's going to find certificates from people who you trust. So going back to my wallet, I'll show who I trust. Right. These are my trusted certifiers from my trust network that I set up in my wallet. So I could trust, the United States Postal Service. I could trust, Identicert for certified government ID. I could trust various people. And then what I'm doing is I'm asking my wallet to find me people, find me certificates for this person who come from people who I trust. That way, if that person has publicly revealed some attributes about themselves who have been certified by somebody that I trust, then I can find those supporting things for this key. And then we're going to use the identity client static method called parse identity, which basically knows about a bunch of certificate types and figures out a creative way to display them. So sometimes you want to just easily display identity in an app or something, and this is what that function does. And then, yeah, you can resolve by attributes too. So this is where you could say something like, profession, doctor, and zip code, and you give a zip code, and then it comes back with certificates that point you to certificates with those attributes that point you to the public key of somebody who might do that and who might meet those criteria that you're looking for, and then it will resolve that back as well. So you can resolve by identity key, which is you have a key and you want to know who it is, or you can resolve by attributes, which is you have some things you're looking for in an identity, and based on the people that you trust, you want to know who would meet those criteria. And that's the methods of the identity client. Then we have some commented out code here, which we'll ignore, and we're going to come back to that. There's a way to revoke revelation, basically of a publicly revealed attribute. It's not truly revoking it because you did publish it for the world, so somebody could still keep a copy. So that's why it's kind of to do, and we'll get to it after we get some more important priorities built. But then here's that parse identity function. And what this is doing is it's going to go through, it knows about a few different types of certificates. So we've got X certificate, which is if you have an X handle. We've got Discord handles. We've got email. We've got phone numbers. We've got identity certificates of a legally verified government ID with a name and a photo of a person's face. We got registrant entries, which are for certificates that attest to a protocol, or maybe it's a registrar of a registry. I actually don't know exactly what that one is. And then, yeah, cool cert is added here. It just kind of, that's all it does. And then there's like the anyone cert. There's a number of different ones, right? But essentially, it goes through and it parses an identity out from that, and that's what the identity client does. The identity client is used in a number of different places. For example, identity React components. So for example, in here, we have a few useful things. If you are building an app in React, and you don't want to use the identity client directly, you can use cool things like an identity card. So all you do is you just pass in an identity key and whether you want light mode or dark mode, and it actually renders a card with that person's avatar. So their photo, their name that is displayable based on that identity resolution process. And so that in whatever app you're building, you will see that person's identity represented according to the people that you trust. And that way, you don't have to trust one single person to give somebody their identity. And then no matter what app that you use to interact with that person, that person will always be represented according to, so maybe they have an Identicert certificate from their government ID, but they also have a social cert, and you trust Identicert more. Well, then you'll always see their Identicert first, and you'll see people's social cert only if they don't have an Identicert. But then suppose I were to edit my trust settings and say, actually, I trust social cert more than I trust Identicert. Well, then now across every app that I use when I interact with somebody, it will actually change it. Now, when we're using this identity card and this identity resolution system, I'll see that person's, and actually, I'll just update my settings here. We'll see if that works. Cool. So it's just that easy to update your identity, your trust relationships in the MetaNet client. And um, and so essentially, yeah, it allows for you to build apps where identity is resolved according to who the user trusts and not according to who you trust as the person who built the app. I think it's the first time in human history that we have really got the capability of doing this properly. And that's why I think identity is such an important thing. When you're dealing with people who you might be paying, receiving money from, doing business with, having smart contracts, all this other stuff, you might ask, oh, what does this have to do with the BSV blockchain? But the BSV blockchain and the relationships that are required in order to facilitate people transacting with each other inherently require identity. And they also require you to be able to find people to deal with. And that's what this search field is. So this is basically a text box, and you can type things in here, and it will resolve with search results for who you're looking for. So based on who you trust, it'll give you a filtered set of results for people that match the criteria. And that's essentially what this React component does. And so you can use that in your apps to build little search boxes for, oh, I want to find somebody to play a game with, or I want to find somebody to, whatever it is that my app does. Now I can, pass in a few things and actually allow that to work. Let's go to, identity search field custom example. Let's file with no extension. What? So somebody in this repository created a file that does not end with any extension, and they just left an example. I would appreciate if anybody watching can make a pull request and make this go into the README or have other examples. I don't know. It's it's not where that belongs, but we've got an identity search form. We've got a few things here, search field, and then we're exporting everything. So that's the identity React components. So the identity client bases its identity resolution capabilities on what certifiers are trusted by the user in their wallet, and then allows for those people to attest to the validity of identity across apps in a way that makes some good sense, I think. Okay, let me go to the let's go back to questions. We can have further questions. All right. Is it possible that testnet is out of faucet funds, having trouble creating an account with the default Babbage web config, not enough sats error? That is very possible. I would recommend, if you're going to use testnet, I would recommend setting the network dropdown to mainnet for now and trying to use mainnet. I don't recommend trying to get testnet working right now. It's a little janky. We will make it work. We need better defaults. So we needed to automatically set the correct testnet web URL and the correct testnet storage URL when you select the testnet dropdown. But currently, if you try to use the mainnet web with testnet dropdown, it will not work properly, and the testnet URLs are not set by default. So the short solution is that you should probably, as much as it pains me to say for now, because of Satoshi's having value, but you should probably test on mainnet for the next few weeks, or at least until we get this this user interface in a better shape. We are going to make as much progress as we can towards making all these tools as usable as we can, and as quickly as we can. We're going to build in the open. We're going to do this in a transparent way, and we're going to want as much help as we can get to get these things fully where the ecosystem needs them to be, in order to make sure that our technology is viable for the future. So we probably should use mainnet for testing purposes, though, now, unfortunately. All right. Do we have other questions, or otherwise? Let's see. No further questions at this.
No further questions.
All right, cool.
Just
Hey,
Mike.
Thanks for joining the stream. Yep. All
Yeah.
right. I think I mean, we've gone through and done a few things here. One thing I was thinking of doing is actually trying to deploy to cars, because I want to show cars in action. I want to show the Lars and Cars stuff, and maybe I should try to refactor the to-do list, because when I went to, and I'll put my screen back up again. When I went to the to the to-do list app, the old one, right? When I went here, this is old world. One of the things, and once again, this is the old MetaNet client, not the new one. So, right. One thing I want to encourage people to do and show them how to do is to get things working in Cars and Lars, because that's the new world way of deploying and working with overlays and even front-end only apps. So a simple front-end only app, like what we were just editing here with the to-do list, could be refactored to use Lars and Cars. And maybe I'll try to do that. Let me put up just the VS Code window again and see if I can't. Right. Just give me a second here to add this window. Window comes through like this. All right. And I'll add it. There we go. So here we are in VS Code. And what I want to do is show how we can make an app work with Lars and Cars. What we need to do is make a directory called frontend. And when we do that, we need to move every single thing in this entire repository into the frontend directory. So I'm going to select, if I can, Shift. Yeah, right. So I got everything except for node modules, which, we'll just throw it into the front end folder, and then we'll delete node modules. So now I've just moved the entire app into front end. Then I need to copy an example of a Lars or Cars project. I have one I happen to know in my meter project, so I'll just copy that one. So I'm going to go copy meter deployment info into the root directory, and meter package JSON into the right. So in effect, I've just moved everything into the front end directory, and then I've made a package for this. And this is just called BSV project, and it's got the latest Lars and Cars. So I should be able to npmi, and then I'm going to edit the deployment info so that we don't overwrite our existing project. So this one says it has topic managers, but if you don't have topic managers, then you can just delete it. Same with your lookup services. So this is a front-end only project, and we're going to deploy it with Cars. And we're actually going to try to do this, and maybe it'll work. So front-end language is written in React, and there's a directory. No smart contracts. You can just delete it. Configs, there's local Lars, and we'll delete the backend out of here because we're not running the backend. And then there's one for Cars. Actually, there's two for Cars. So I forgot that. Let's just go ahead and delete this one. All right. And here we are. So now we just have one deployment, which is with Lars. Let's try to run it with Lars and see what happens first. So npm run Lars start. And we crash. Why did we crash? Let's see. Uh-oh. Looks like I've made an error in my JSON syntax. Is that correct? No. No. Ah. That goes there. That goes there. Okay. See, JSON is hard, guys. Okay. It's the hardest programming language. npm run lars. Start. It's going to npm I all the depths. It's going to spin up. And just like that, to-do list has been refactored to use cars or to use lars, right? So now you can do your local dev, and when you're done, just Control C and off it goes. But to do cars, you need to deploy it somewhere. So how do we do that? npm run cars, and it's saying name a cars config. So it's trying to create a new cars configuration in the terminal. I don't know why Chrome just popped up. Let's just try to make this a little bit bigger if I can. So why is this over here? That cannot be there. We'll just say, I don't know, Babbage cars. Select the URL. Babbage will deploy on the cars Babbage server. We'll deploy on mainnet. It doesn't really matter because we're a front end only. Only deploy front end. So we'll select that. We want HTTPS for the front end hosting method for now. And then we'll create a new project ID. This is where you need to have the MetaNet client running, the new one. So it's going to say, what should we call this project? We'll just call it to-do list. And project ID should be created. That will happen if you have a MetaNet client running. Then you can go ahead and you should top up your balance of your project with enough Satoshis to deploy it. But let's first build an artifact just to see if, so you can go to cars build artifact. It should build the artifact. Yeah, it's building. Okay, artifact was built. So now I've built a cars artifact for this new front end project. And then I want to go to manage projects. Let's make sure we top up the balance, and I'll show you why. Well, yeah, I'll show you why. If I go and try to deploy this without topping up the balance, so I just say auto release a new revision based on the latest one, right? It's going to go grab that and try to upload the artifact. It's going to say, well, error from server, project balance must be at least 1 Satoshi to upload. The current balance is 0. So yeah, that's why we have to do that. So yeah, projects, billing, top up balance, select your cars server, and enter the number of Satoshis. I'll give it, how many do I have? Because I remember I was low. I have 10,000. So I'll go and enter, I don't know, I'll just give it like 500 sats. No, it's got to be more than that probably. What this does is it's micropayment based. You're paying this service to host your app for you. I'll get 4,300 Satoshis or something. And it's going to pop up the MetaNet client with a request. You can't see it because I only have VS Code open right now. But I'll approve it. And when I do, why is that happening? That should definitely not be happening. All right. Now we're in uncharted territory. So I was going to pay, this has worked many, many times. So guys, bsvhackathon.com, the website is running on cars. Let me do I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use admin powers to resolve this issue. Just give me a second here. I'm going to set the project balance. So Yeah, this is once again an issue, but I think it's something we can actually resolve here. So update project set balance equals 1 billion. I think 1 billion in MySQL should be enough. All right, cool. Now I think all projects on this server have 1 billion Satoshis. All right, so now I'm going to say that's done, and we'll go back to the deployment. We will have that issue fixed immediately. This is just, we need to resolve these types of bugs. It's just quite necessary. All right, auto deploy, and this time because I have 1 billion Satoshis, it's saying uploading artifact. And then it says artifact uploaded. Now, that means that my app should theoretically be online. If I go back, and then if I go to manage projects, and if I say view project info, then it's going to print out this big table, which probably isn't going to be the best formatting here, but oh yeah, it's okay. But if I scroll up, right, it's saying this project, there's my 1 billion Satoshis or however many I entered, and here's my front-end domain. So I can copy this front-end domain, and I can go into my browser, and this is where I would need to share my whole screen again. So let me do that. Okay. And yeah, essentially I can copy that link. This is gonna, let's see, present, share screen, entire screen. There we go. All right, and now I'm gonna go to my browser. I'm gonna paste this new URL that I just deployed. And there you see it. The to-do list application is online. It's been deployed. But how do I set a custom domain? So I have this really long URL for my domain, and I just pulled it out of the table here, which I was looking at. And, I have this. I think it's fine to have this, but oops. Yeah, this is where I was just, going and literally setting the project balance, because somehow the database is not good, but or somehow that route wasn't working. But yeah, we have this link, and we've just deployed our app onto cars. And by the way, if you were to have topic managers, lookup services, smart contracts with that script, and you wanted to deploy that, you could use the exact same process. It would work. But I want to set the domain properly. And to do that, I need to set some DNS records. So I'm going to go to set front-end custom domain and enter the domain name to use. Well, I want my old domain. todo.babbage.systems. And that way this to-do list can be updated, because the old one is on todo.babbage.systems right now. But now it's telling me go and add this DNS record to my domain. And this is all public. I don't have to worry about it. Right? So it's saying for the front end, I can go here and I can go to my domains. I think they're on Squarespace for some reason, because Google Domains got bought by Squarespace. And maybe, oh goodness. No, give me the login portal. Goodness, is it this one? All right, manage domains. And all I have to do is I can go to my domain, and you can see all of my domains if you want. And Babbage.systems, there's DNS, and I'm going to go and edit my DNS settings. So what I'm going to do is add a record, cars_project.todo, right, as it instructs. Set a txt record type so that you're setting your, whoops, I have to close this little thing again. Okay, there we are, right. So we're going to set a txt record type, and there's the verification. Okay, save. Then I'm going to grab a, I need to update the IP address. So I know that this IP address is correct. and I need to get rid of the to-do domain from before. So let's just go to where that is. To-do, right. To-do, and we'll just go ahead and delete it if I can. CNAME record. Can I edit the? Can I? Well, I guess I have to. See, this is why. Okay. I want to. Oh, I have to cancel this before I can edit a record. Got it. Okay. So I'm just going to go to the to-do list here. Pull the old one offline unceremoniously. Can I change this to be a... Right, I can directly... All right, thank goodness. The UI is sometimes on our side, guys. I don't have to delete it and recreate it. I can say this is now an A record that has a time to live of that value. And instead of pointing to Google, I'm going to point it to this IP address, which is where the cars node is. So you have to point it to the IP of where your cars node is. Save that update. I'm going to give it about 15 seconds to, give it 15 seconds to propagate the DNS before I go and tell it that it's up to date. But if you use cars, 15 seconds could save you 15% or more on your web hosting services. So yeah, use cars, use BSV micropayments to purchase your web hosting services. Run a cars node. There's a guide. I should talk about that while this is going. If you want to run a cars node like Babbage has, this is open source as well. So cars node is a way to allow people to have overlays, and you're basically a hosting business for BSV overlay services. So here's this, and there's a guide in here. It describes what is cars node, but then there's a deployment guide. And this steps you through step by step. This is what you do if you want to run a cars node. So run a cars node. That's going to help lots of people. Okay, and you make money with BSV micropayments for providing web hosting services. If you have this extra server somewhere, any of that stuff. All right, let's go back. And we'll say, yep, this custom domain has been done. And yeah, it works. Okay, so now that is done. We set a custom domain. After you set a custom domain, as of now, somebody could make a pull request on cars node and make this not be the case. But as of right now, you have to actually go and deploy a new revision of your project after you set the custom domain. So I'm just going to auto-release a new revision with the same exact artifact, just so that it sets the ingress properly. Okay, that's done. So cars is actually really fast, at least right now. And I hope it stays really fast forever. And now if I go to todo.babbage.systems, the question is, well, I have DNS cached. I need to, aha, all right. So here's what's happening. It deployed the new revision. We're waiting for SSL to provision. Cars automatically provisions SSL. But after a while, oh, that's weird. Okay, it's going back to the old one. Is it the new one? Is it the old one? Now it's the new one. Okay, so it looks like after doing a bunch of Command-Shift-R, it cleared my cache. And now if I go to todo.babbage.systems, I have successfully deployed the to-do list application using the new system. And I can approve these things. Oh, wait, is that old or new? I have to close the old MetaNet. Let's say goodbye to the old MetaNet client. Goodbye. Now there's only the new one, which we're working to make better over time. And I think it's going to be really good. We just have to work together on it, basically, because, we need to make it do all of the things that it has to do, and we need to fix all of the bugs, and we need to make it work properly. And if it does, then we win. So now I should be able to create a test task. Let's say, promote the BSV hackathon. And I will give myself 100 Satoshis if this is. So here we are. And now we're using a deployed website on the internet with the new stack. So there we go. And notice that this is using baskets. So even though it doesn't have an overlay, well, it's actually talking locally to my wallet to make this work. The only data that this app deals with is from my wallet. It's otherwise a completely static website. But it's deployed on the internet and it has HTTPS, and it's monetized with BSV micropayments using the Lars and Cars systems. So I'm going to commit this change to the repo of the to-do list. Use Lars and Cars. Did I commit node modules? Oh boy. Guys, I think I committed node modules. We can't do that. How about we copy the git ignore? Happens to the best of us, guys. Did that? All right, now it's going to get messy. So we need to get rid of that for a second. We need to git reset head tilde 1. Then we need to go and bring the git ignore. Don't commit node modules. Don't be like me. All right, we deleted a bunch of stuff. We have this now. Is there node modules in? Oh wait, no, I think that's good. Okay, now let's try that again. Add Lars and Cars. That seems better. And, oh, yeah, well, because it pushed it. Fine. There. -- force. So now we have this deployed on the internet. Domains updated. Everything is good. We fixed the bugs. This is an example. We have to fix all of the bugs ever, and then everything will work. And we don't even have a read. Come on, we got it. Let's. So the README of BRC 102 projects is very similar for everyone, but let's have a README, right? When you put in a tiny amount of work to do something, you don't regret it, because then everybody can see this project and it actually has a README and it describes what's going on and how to use the tools, at least a little bit, you know. And we want to make more people more aware of how more of this stuff works more often than not, because then more things will work more often than not, hopefully. So anyways, yeah, I think there's some good things there, and we can do a lot with Lars and Cars to make things work properly and to fix bugs and to make things, you know, align with a good pattern of development where they can be deployed multiple places. By the way, with Lars and Cars, you can deploy to multiple places. So you don't have to trust one single web host provider for putting your app online. And then it would be trivial to have a on-chain overlay that points to many places where that app is available, so that if one of them goes away, it'll use another one. And lots of things like that. We can go to more questions, and then I think we'll wrap up pretty quick. Yeah, there's the link. There's the link. Okay. So it was you who was doing Babbage. Yes, I think so. I think we are. I think I am the founding president of Project Babbage. Otherwise, I might be like an alien. But okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm I'm hoping that we can get as many projects as we can using Lars and Cars and actually deploying it. You know, I think from here on forward, guys, we live in the real world. I'm not going to pretend I'm not going to try, not that I think I have too much in the past, but like, I don't think that we as an ecosystem should pretend anymore that all of this stuff is perfect. I think we need to meet the problems where they are, and we need to have everybody kind of help on the same within the same boat to try to fix things. And that's why open source, right? Um, that's why we can get things together in a way that is interoperable, but it is also open. And I think if we do that, then um, we do a good thing. I would encourage people to attend our hackathon because that's the best way to do that right now. We will be there for 24 hours. We will give away $55,000 in prizes to 3 great teams who are building things. And that way they'll have some support in the future as well. Because with those resources, you can hopefully invest in making your project even better. But we're also going to open source a lot of that code. We're going to open source all the code from all the submissions so that everybody has more examples, right? Because for every to-do list and Mars cast and meter application and tempo music, which we want to again refactor and make better so that it works using the new system. I want to see 10 or 100 or 1,000 more other examples made by different people, and I think we can do that if we have lots of hackathons and get lots of buy-in from lots of people across the ecosystem about about this stuff and making it work properly. So I don't know if there's any more questions. If not, I think we'll wrap up pretty quick. Mike, if there are, feel free to throw them up. But yeah, this has been this has been real, right? We take some time out of our day to make a live stream, make these things happen. And there's bugs, and we go fix the bugs, and we leave the code better than it was before we started. If you do that every single day, then maybe you get to a point where things are working out really well. And you get to a point where, where we can show some people some good things, and we can have some code that's worthy of doing fun things with and building with. So that's all I got, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, whether now or in the future. The BSV Hackathon is hosted in Austin, Texas on April 5th and April 6th. Kind of the plan is we'll get there. People will show up around noontime. We'll start out by giving some talks and some little intros, get everybody into teams, get everybody knowing what's going on and why we're here and what we're doing and how it's going to work, and up on the latest tech, and pull the code for the MetaNet desktop and get that running and get people up to speed with building with that and using that with overlays with Lars and Cars, and make sure people know like the 50,000 foot view of this. But if you come there prepared, if you come there already knowing what this stuff is, already watching this live stream, already checking out the resources page on bsvhackathon.com/resources, then you're going to be in a better place to really ask informed questions and to hit the ground running with writing some code. And our presenters are going to be there to talk through some things and to talk about even just around the ecosystem. We got some great sponsors, the BSV Association, and then Silverline is going to be helping promote things. So we're going to have a good time. We're going to write some code. We're going to show people, including ourselves and businesses as well, like the compelling value add that the BSV blockchain enables. And we're also very thankful to one of our judges who is putting a lot of his time into taking some time to make this stuff happen. Rob Bennett from the business perspective, trying to make sure that these projects are aligned with business utility and with creating value in a way that people actually care to check out. So we're grateful that he has said he's going to be there for being a judge. And then thanks also as well to Degan. So it'll be the 3 of us. It's looking like kind of putting our heads together and showing the best, figuring out who's going to win $55,000 in prizes across 30,000 for first place, 15 for second, and 10 for third. And hopefully building some good relationships in the process with people who are building things, because we'll continue to make the stack what it needs to be, align with the demands of our ecosystem and of our community, and make sure that everything is what it should be, and fix all the bugs. So that's the plan. We'll have our talks on Saturday, early afternoon-ish. We'll then go into some coding. There will be, I think, some sake and some sushi and things, whatever people can bring, or whatever they want to do. And then we'll do some coding. We'll be there until late in the night. We'll then get there on Sunday, polish things up, wrap up your projects, get things where they should be. We'll be there to help as well. There's going to be some mentors, some people kind of floating around, answering questions, making sure things go smoothly, fixing errors, and it's going to be a real hackathon in that sense. There's going to be a lot of people on all sides of this, not just the people involved, but also the people who made the tech stack, trying to make this stuff work and make it work for people in the way that they need to, so they can build stuff. Sunday, we'll maybe have a meal, and we'll announce the winners by around noontime on Sunday. So the rough plan. I'm not very good with plans, guys, but I think we should do things in a way that lets us be flexible and understand who's going to be there and what they're going to be all about and how we're going to build things, and go from there. So that's all I have. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this and to understand what we're doing. And I look forward to doing more of these types of things in the future. I look forward to seeing less catastrophic bugs in random code. And then, but at the same time, that's kind of what it's all about, is fixing those and making things work. So I think we did a good thing today, even if things, sometimes aren't perfect. And we fix the bugs, and then it works after that, So thanks very much, and we'll catch you on the next one. And we'll also catch you hopefully in Austin, Texas. So I guess I should talk a little bit about the application. If you should go to the website, you should apply. If you cannot afford to travel there, show me that you know what you're doing. If you want to have a chance for us to buy your plane tickets and a hotel for you or something, show me that you know what you are talking about with respect to going through this content, going through the resources page. And if you do a quiz, we'll go on a call with you and talk to you and see about what makes sense, what you might need to get there. And then, it's kind of the idea. We want as many people to participate as possibly can. And so looking forward to it. All right. Well, that's all I have. So go to bsvhackathon.com and sign up if you're interested. Over and out.